Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another video of Be the Best DFS Daily Fantasy Sports. My name is Bradford Best, and today is Thursday, September 28th, and this will be my Week 4 video for this upcoming NFL slate. A quick recap on Week 3. It was a pretty good week for me. On the main slates, DraftKings, my high score was 137.26. Fanduel, high score 112.08. If you're following the Instagram account, I did share two of my DraftKings lineups, and the one with Kirk Cousins put up 136, so it was able to cash in GPPs. But I got most of my success on the smaller slates, the 4 p.m. slates, and the primetime slates. I was able to profit overall week 3 about $50 to $100 across both sites. Make sure you follow the Instagram account. I posted, my results, so you can see those on there. The bad thing about week 3, Cam Newton, that was just he just doesn't have it, and that was a play that just really didn't work out well for me. But stacking the Falcons with Matt Ryan, Julio, and Freeman, that worked out pretty good. And the Redskins stack, Cousins, he played well. Pryor didn't do too much, but Chris Thompson, he was a good play. So about 2 out of my 3 lineups were able to be successful on week 3. But enough of week 3. Let's talk about, this week 4 upcoming slate. Really excited about this. Hopefully, we can stay on the winning track. Okay, so I like to start my videos off talking about my top stacks of the week. And right now, I'm focused on 3 different stacks. I know this one is probably going to be unpopular. A lot of people may not agree with this, but one of my top stacks for week 4 is going to be the Houston Texans with Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins. Deshaun Watson is 7,300. DeAndre Hopkins is 7,300. They're basically at a mid-tier price. But if you just look at the numbers, last week versus the New England Patriots, Deshaun Watson's a rookie quarterback. He passed for over 300 yards and had 2 passing touchdowns versus the New England Patriots. Now, the New England Patriots, we know they aren't really, a good team defense through the first 3 weeks of the season. But historically, rookies have struggled on the road in Foxborough going up against a Bill Belichick defense. And for Deshaun Watson to put up those type of numbers is something that I really, really like. Another reason I like Deshaun Watson, this will be his first game starting at home. His first 2 starts have been on the road at Cincinnati on a Thursday night and then at New England. So with this being his first game starting at home, I do like, his upside. When you look at the matchup versus the Tennessee Titans, the Titans are ranked 28th defensively and 28th versus the pass. In week 3, the Titans, they let Russell Wilson pass for over 370 yards and 4 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. So if Russell Wilson, was able to do that on the Titans in Tennessee, I kind of do like Deshaun Watson to have hopefully similar results in this game in week 4. And on the other side of it, DeAndre Hopkins, he's obviously the top target for Deshaun Watson. He only had 8 targets in week 3, but he definitely have the potential to get 10 plus targets. He's the best receiver. So if I'm going to use Watson and stack him up with anyone, it's going to be DeAndre Hopkins. And as a contrarian play, I do like the tight end because he's for value, Ryan Griffin, for 4,500. Week 3, 6 targets, 61 yards, 1 receiving touchdown. But the key thing is, his value price of 4,500. So I know there's a lot of quarterbacks to choose from this week, a lot of different ways you can attack the slate. But, just trying to be a little different for GPPs, I do like the Houston Texans as one of my top stacks, for this week 4 slate. Another stack that I like. I don't know how much confidence I have in it, but if I just look at the matchup, it's something that I feel I definitely want to have exposure to. And that's going to be the Seattle Seahawks with Russell Wilson at 7,900, Doug Baldwin 7,600, and you could probably throw in Jimmy Graham in there as well. So this is the late game on Sunday, the Sunday night game at 8:30. But Wilson, he's coming off a unbelievable performance in Week 3. 373 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 33.5 fantasy points. And you look at the matchup, the Colts are ranked 30th defensively overall, and they're ranked 30th versus the pass. Seattle is at home. Russell Wilson, we all know, as well as throwing the ball, he also has the rushing upside ability. Prior to the game versus Tennessee, Seattle offense has looked pretty bad. I don't think Russell Wilson is as good as he once was early in his career. Seattle's offensive line isn't really good, but it's just a matchup that I feel that can't be ignored. And it also gives you some late night exposure, which is always good. Some exposure in the late game that could possibly put you in the money. So just looking at the matchup, I feel that Russell Wilson and the Seahawks is in play, versus an inferior in Indianapolis Colts team. Then another thing, they're at home. Russell Wilson, he typically plays better at home. So that's definitely going to be another stack I have exposure to. I don't think DraftKings have the late night game included on their main slate this week. Some other things I want to talk about with this stack. Doug Baldwin, he had a great game. 15 targets in Week 3. 15 targets, 10 receptions, 105 yards for 1 touchdown. It's just something that can't be ignored. So for me, I'm definitely going to have exposure to the Seattle Seahawks. Jimmy Graham, let me look at his numbers. He had 11 targets for 7 catches, 72 yards. So between Graham and Doug Baldwin, they had 26 targets on Week 3. Seattle, they really don't have much of a run game, and the Colts, their defense isn't really something to be scared of. So Seattle Seahawks, that would be my number 2 stack on Fanduel for Week 4. And let me move on to the last stack that I really want to like to build around this week. You could say I'm biased, because I'm always talking about this team, but the Atlanta Falcons, I want to have exposure to them. Let me say that the Buffalo Bills are a good defense. They're the number 1 scoring defense in the league through the first 3 weeks of the NFL season. They have 2 good defensive linemen on their front line in Shaq Lawson and Marcel Darius. So the Buffalo Bills, they are a formidable, legit, respectable defense. I understand that. But through the first 3 weeks of the season, the Bills have played a sorry Cam Newton. They played the Jets with old man Josh McCown. I think he's the second or third oldest quarterback in the league. And they played the young guy, Trevor Siemian, for the Denver Broncos in Buffalo. This week, they're not playing Cam, they're not playing McCown, and they not playing Siemian. They playing the reigning MVP in Matty Ice, Matt Ryan. He's the MVP. I do understand that Buffalo has a good defense, but Matt Ryan is the MVP, and throughout his career, he always plays well at home. So for me, I want to have exposure to the Falcons this week on FanDuel. That's what I'm talking about right now. So for now, one of my lineups that I have, I may change up things because, depending on the injury news, but I have a stack of Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, and Tevin Coleman. I know that's kind of different to put both of 2 running backs on the same team together, but, it's just something I have, right now in my rough draft lineup. But, again, with Julio, 3 weeks through the season, he still hasn't reached the end zone. Trust me, he want to get in the end zone. And trust me, Julio, he's going to have a monster game one of these weeks this season. And I just want to be on board when it happens. And a lot of people may back off the Falcons, this week because Buffalo does have a good defense. And I'm not telling everyone watching this video, I'm not saying play the Falcons. I'm just saying what I'm going to do. I'm trying to be transparent with you guys and just share with y'all, the type of plays that I'm going to play. And, with my 3 lineups, this is one of the teams I will have exposure to on Fanduel. I'm not sure about DraftKings, but on Fanduel, I do like Matt Ryan, Julio Jones. Depending on the injury news that come out this week, if he's healthy enough, he can get it against any cornerback. On last week versus Darius Slay, a good cornerback of the Detroit Lions, Julio had 12 targets, 7 receptions, 91 yards. So he almost got that 100-yard mark in receiving, but he still hasn't gotten the end zone. I think they're going to make an effort to try to get him a touchdown. And Devontae Freeman, if you haven't watched any Falcons games, he's the closest thing, to Barry Sanders that I've seen in a long time, in my opinion. Week 3, 106 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. I do like Freeman, if I'm going to use Matt Ryan, because Freeman can get it in the passing game. So I'm not going to just keep on talking about the Falcons because I know a lot of y'all don't want to just hear me talk about my Atlanta teams. But, I just think there's merit into playing them. I think they will be low owned, and I think they make good for tournaments in GPPs this week because people may be off with them because of the matchup versus the Buffalo defense. So those are my top 3 stats for week 4. The Falcons, the Seahawks, and the Houston Texans. Now I'm just going to kind of quickly go over each position by position and just talk about, other plays across the whole slate. So quarterback, I already mentioned my 3 guys that I like in my stacks, but let me just talk about Tom Brady real quick. Tom Brady's 9,500 playing at home versus the Carolina Panthers. The last 2 games, he's got over 30 fantasy points. I'm going to tell y'all this. Tom Brady, he probably will have another amazing game this week at home versus the sorry Panthers. The last 2 weeks, he's just been playing outstanding. Over 350 yards passing each of the last 2 weeks. He had 5 touchdown passes last week. He's a great play. But for me, on the main slate, I would not be using Tom Brady. He just, because of the cost, 9,500. I just think, for me, it's not something, I don't want to pay top price for him. He can do well, but for me personally, it's just kind of hard for me to figure out, who exactly to stack him up with. Do you stack him up with Brandon Cooks? Do you stack him up with Hogan? Do you stack him up with Gronkowski, James White, Amendola if he comes back? It's just kind of hard to figure out. But unless you're doing tons of lineups where you can have exposure to all the different options that he have, it just presents a challenge. So I will say I do think Tom Brady will do well. He's on a tear. He's on one of his hot streaks. But for me personally, I just don't want to pay that price for him. I think it's too much, and I think it would just limit me as far as building the rest of my lineup. But I do understand the reasoning and the logic for using Tom Brady. I understand it. So if you know how to, pay up for him and build around him, I say go for it. But for me, I can't use him because of the price. Let's see. Are there any other quarterbacks? I think Carson Palmer is in a decent spot versus the San Francisco 49ers. Carson Palmer, he showed that he still got a little bit left in the tank on Monday night versus the Dallas defense. The guy DeMarcus Lawrence was just putting a lot of pressure on him, but Palmer still was able to put up a good game, against the Dallas Cowboys. So against the 49ers, I do like Carson Palmer at 7,400. There's no way I'm touching Cam Newton. He's just not on my radar for maybe for the rest of the season. That guy is horrible right now. So Carson Palmer, Tom Brady's good. Kind of just looking through the player pool. I think Trevor Siemian is interesting. I think Oakland have a weak defense. You know, playing at Mile High Stadium in that thin air. I think Trevor Siemian, he's in play. I like him more on DraftKings. I think he may be in the $5,000 range. So he presents better value on DraftKings. But on Fanduel, he could be in play. But I like him more on DraftKings. But I think that's the farthest I'm going to go for the quarterback position. Again, I like my three guys, Deshaun Watson, Matt Ryan, and Russell Wilson. Tom Brady, he's definitely a great play. I won't be using him. And I like Carson Palmer and slight interest in Trevor Siemian. Let me move on to the next position, running back position. In my opinion, I think this is a week where it's good to pay up for running back. And my top running back is going to be Ezekiel Elliott for 8,500. It's a premium price tag, but he's going up against the Los Angeles Rams team that's ranked 29th versus the run. The game is at home in Dallas. We know Ezekiel Elliott, he'll get the attempts. He had 22 rushing attempts on last week. The reigning leading rusher in NFL for last season with the most rushing yards. I really do like him in this spot. I like Dallas in this game, and if they can get a good lead on the Rams, I think they're going to be feeding Ezekiel Elliott the ball. So definitely, I really do like his upside in this game. I think Ezekiel Elliott is probably going to be my top running back for week 4 on FanDuel for sure. He had a bad week versus the Denver Broncos, but the Broncos they got their defense, but he showed some good signs against I had a call coming through. He showed some good signs against the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football. Again, another running back that I like, I think you should pay up for running back. Like Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell for 8,600 versus the Baltimore Ravens. Let's see, last week he had 18.8 fantasy points, 15 rushing attempts for 61 yards, and 6 catches for 37 yards. I believe Leonard Fournette had a strong game versus the Ravens on week 3. Let me look at that real quick. Oh no, Leonard Fournette didn't do that well. But regardless of that, I do like Le'Veon Bell. He's a dual threat back, and I just think he has the ceiling compared to any other running backs on the slate. And in tournaments you look for guys who have that high ceiling, and he's definitely one of them. With that ability to rush and receive the ball out the backfield. So those two guys I do like to pay up for. And the third running back that I really, really like is Leonard Fournette versus the Jets. I just like, that they give him the ball. He finds a way in the end zone through 3 weeks in the season. He has a rushing touchdown in each one of the games. So I like Leonard Fournette at 7,700. I think he's at a fair price. And to be quite honest with you, those are my top 3 running backs at the position. Bell, Fournette, and Elliott. I like LaShawn McCoy more on DraftKings, where the catch receptions are more important because you get that full point. And the Falcons, they do struggle at defending the running back position. So LaShawn McCoy, he's 8,300. I don't know if I really, really want to go to him on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, I like LaShawn McCoy a little more because of the receiving factor. And let's see, other running backs. For some slight value, C.J. Anderson versus the Oakland Raiders. I think the Oakland Raiders have a bad defense. So C.J. Anderson, I think he's in play. Um, I like Devontae Freeman, but I only like using him when I use Matt Ryan. So I do like Freeman. He's getting kind of high. In Buffalo, they do have a good front seven. So if I did use Freeman, it'll probably be with the lineups where I choose to use Matt Ryan. And Dalvin Cook, thing I want to say about Cook, he's been impressive. He had an impressive week on last week. But I think Detroit, I think their defense might be able to contain him. Ziggy Ansah on the line, I think he might be able to contain him. But Dalvin Cook, I'm unsure about him, I should say. I'm just not really sure. And I think that's about it. On DraftKings, Lamar Miller, I like him on DraftKings for value. I think I'm going to be stacking him up with Deshaun Watson. On DraftKings, I think he's 4,500. So I do like him on DraftKings. But primarily, my overall thoughts for Fanduel, I think it's a week that I want to pay up for running back. So I'm definitely going to have exposure to Ezekiel Elliott, Le'Veon Bell, those top two, and like Leonard Fournette as well. Let me move on. Wide receiver position. Again, I mentioned the guys in my stacks: Hopkins, Baldwin, and Julio. But outside of those three guys, I do like A.J. Green. A.J. Green, with the tight end Tyler Eifert being out, is giving A.J. Green more opportunities, more targets, and a better way to shine. I think I saw on TV that last season in 7 games where Tyler Eifert was out, A.J. Green averaged 100 yards receiving and maybe a touchdown or something like that. So A.J. Green at price of $8,000, I like him as a receiver. I like Larry Fitzgerald. I love Larry Fitzgerald at 6,700. Fitzgerald had a great Monday night performance. Great Monday night performance. Let me look that up. 15 targets, 13 catches, 149 yards receiving, 1 touchdown. We saw the San Francisco 49ers got in a shootout with the Los Angeles Rams on Thursday night. Carson Palmer, it looks like he's going to be giving the ball to Fitzgerald a lot with David Johnson out, possibly John Brown being out. Larry Fitzgerald at that price of 6,700, I really do like him at the receiver position. Think he's a great play. Gotta love Odell Beckham Jr. It seems like his ankle is healthy, and it seems like he's back on track to be in his normal form. So, like Odell Beckham, always gotta consider Antonio Brown. He's a great receiver. So definitely him. Let me not forget about this guy. Emmanuel Sanders for 6,900. Man, Oakland defense, I just don't believe in it. I don't believe in Oakland defense. That's why I was so big on Kirk Cousins last week. I wish I would have used more of him. I definitely used him on that primetime slate. But Oakland, their defense is no good. I mean, they got the guy Khalil Mack at linebacker. But outside of him, their defense is pretty horrible. So both of the Broncos receivers, Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas, I love both of them this week. I think they're in line for great games. I like Sanders a little more because he got more speed on the outside. But I like both of those guys at the receiver position. Let me see. Is there anyone else that's worth mentioning? There probably are some other value plays. I haven't digged all the way into my research, but just as far as mid-tier guys and guys who I really confident in about having a good game, those the main guys outside of my stacks. A.J. Green, the Broncos receivers, Larry Fitzgerald, Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham Jr., and of course the guys that I mentioned in my stack at the beginning of this video. Tight end position. Let me talk about this real quick. Of course, Gronkowski is in play. Of course, Gronkowski is in play. Zach Ertz is in play because he's the top target for Carson Wentz. But outside of those two, tight end, I really feel that it's just a position that you stack with whatever quarterback you're using. Whatever quarterback you decide to use, I think it's a good option to like stack them. So like I got exposure to Griffin of the Texans. I got Graham of the Seahawks. Um, yeah, I don't really see much I like about tight end. You got the top two guys, Gronkowski and Ertz, but outside of them, I really don't see much I like. I'm gonna tell y'all who I have as my three tight ends in my lineups right now. I got Griffin, I got Griffin, I got Jimmy Graham, and I got Antonio Gates for value. Antonio Gates provides great value. 4,700 on Fanduel. I believe he's less than 3,000 on DraftKings. So yeah, he provides value for you, only as value. He's not like a great player or anything, but he can provide value for you to pay up in other spots of your lineups. So that's all the skill positions: quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end. I can never get team defense right. That's like the hardest thing to pick on daily fantasy for me. I think the Texans are in play. I just like their defensive linemen. Texans. I kind of like the Cowboys. I like the Cowboys. What I saw from DeMarcus Lawrence, that defensive end for the Cowboys on Monday night, I think that was very impressive. So Goff, I don't really think he's a mobile quarterback, so I do like the Titans. Those are just a couple of the defenses I like. Kickers, I think I like Matt Bryant. I like Matt Bryant. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Falcons fan. It's justified. He's averaging the second most FanDuel point per game for kickers so far this season. He averaged 13.33 fantasy points per game. He's only behind Ryan Suckup of the Tennessee Titans. So yeah, I like Matt Bryant, but you just have to do your research with the kickers. Look at the over/under totals, and make your decision about whichever team you think going to score high. Just have to research that a lot. But that's about it for this video. That's my week 4 plays. That's how I'm going to attack the slate. A quick overview of everything. My top stacks for FanDuel. I like the Texans with Watson and Hopkins. I like the Falcons, Matty Ice, Julio, Freeman, and I like the Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson, Doug Baldwin, Jimmy Graham. Top plays at running back. I think it's a week that you pay up for running back, so I like Ezekiel Elliott. I like Le'Veon Bell. I like Leonard Fournette. And I also have interest in LaShawn McCoy, more so for DraftKings. Receivers, outside the stacks, gotta like AJ Green, gotta like the Broncos receivers, gotta love Larry Fitzgerald. I really didn't see much I liked at tight end, so it's probably a position that I will pay down for or stack up with my quarterback. And y'all already know you just have to kind of do that deep research for kickers and tight ends. Kickers and team defenses. But, my kicker, I love Matt Bryant. Matt Bryant is the man. But the video, about to put the video to a close. As always, I want to thank everyone who's taking the time out to view this video. I thank y'all for rocking with me. Make sure you follow me on all social media. Just search the tag, hashtag BeTheBestDFS. You'll find me on Instagram, the Facebook group, Twitter, and of course this YouTube channel. I share some lineups, share my results on Instagram. We have discussions on Facebook. So make sure you search the hashtag, follow me, and join me on social media. And if you like this video, make sure you like it and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I keep it real with y'all. I'm just going to tell y'all what I play. And, hopefully, it results in like a profitable winning week. For those of y'all just watching me for the first time, I gotta say it. My motto is count the wins as blessings, the losses teach lessons, man. This daily fantasy is nothing easy. You know, it takes a lot of work. You gotta be diligent in your research. But overall, just try to have fun with it, win some money, and make a profit. And just be thankful when you are able to win some money. Because it's definitely a blessing. When we come up short, count the losses as lessons, learn from it, move to the next week, move to the next slate. But again, thank everyone for joining me. Hope y'all liked the video, and wish everyone much success on this upcoming week for NFL football. I'll catch y'all next week, and as always, try to be the best. I'm out of here.